Hi folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming to you here with another versus comparisons. We're going to be doing a versus comparison video between the Samsung Galaxy S5 from AT&T versus the Apple iPhone 5S. And we're going to put these two head-to-head, do a feature comparisons. We're going to compare the aspects of them, the innards of them, and how they operate, some of the different software aspects of them, and also pit the cameras against each other. So stay tuned. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe to us so you can get all the different reviews we're going to be doing with all the phones against the Samsung Galaxy 5 S5. We'll be doing about 20 versus comparisons, so you want to tune in for that. So let's get into the meat of this. Both these are very beautiful and well-built phones. There's no argument about that. They're definitely both well-manufactured and great phones. The Samsung Galaxy S5 comes to us from AT&T, so you can go check out their website at at&t.com. Thanks to AT&T for sharing the phones with us with the fastest download and upload speeds. So what we're going to do is pit the two of them against each other. So let's take a look at the design on both these. With the Samsung Galaxy S5, it's running on your Android 4.4.2 and your TouchWiz UI that comes from Samsung. Apple's pretty much got their iOS 7. The Samsung Galaxy S5, you're looking at a height of 5.59 inches, 2.85 in width, and 0.32 inches in thickness, coming in at 5.11 ounces or 145 grams for those of you in the metric states. 4.87 is the height of the Apple iPhone 5S, 2.31 is the width, and 0.30 inches in thickness. The weight on it is much less than the S5, of course, 3.95 ounces and 112 grams for those of you in the metric area. So, all in all, I mean, definitely there's a big difference here in the size of both these phones when you see the two of them put together, and they make a huge difference also in their displays. The display on the S5 comes in at 5.1 inches. It's slightly bigger than the S4 now. 1080p, so you got true 1080p with the screen, and a whopping, this is a massive PPI, 432 pixels per inch that they have on the S5. So just an amazing, beautiful, immaculate screen, and it's huge. On the Apple iPhone 5S, it's still limited to the 4-inch size, and there's discussions they'll be expanding that on their launches later this year. It's 640 by 1136 pixels screen size, 326 PPI. So those are the real differences between these two babies, and giving you the difference in size and display. Hardware-wise, the S5 has got the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor, which is pretty amazing. It's got a quad-core, 2.5 gigahertz, and it runs with 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of built-in storage, and you can expand, this is pretty crazy, the memory up to 128 gigabytes. So you can hold a lot of data on this, and you don't have to pay extra for it. With the hardware on the iPhone 5S, you're looking at the Apple A7 with the 64-bit architecture. It's got a dual core with a 1.3 gigahertz and comes with 1 gigabyte of RAM, 16 gigabytes of built-in storage. And of course, you can buy more expensive models if you want more storage in them. The battery on both these, 2,800 milliamp hours for the S5, and the Apple iPhone 5S comes in at 1,570 milliamp hours. So you're getting almost double the amount of battery space with the S5. So pretty interesting. Both these have beautiful screens, and of course using both of them is very simple and easy, and of course swiping through all their different menus of apps that they have. Of course, the Android product does have widgets on top of the apps, which is very cool. With the Samsung S5, you're looking at the very top. You've got a speaker, sensors, front-facing camera. You've got capacitive touchscreen. You can't really see this light of a back button and recent apps button and a home button there in the middle. The iPhone 5S, you've got a front-facing camera, speaker, sensors, and a home button On the back of both these devices, you can see they're, of course, very different. The Samsung Galaxy S5 still has that plasticky back that people don't like, but it works. There's the camera eye, the flash lamp. There's also the heart rate monitor where you can put your finger over that and it will take and monitor your heart rate, give you your BPM, I believe it's called, beats per minute. And the back pops off, of course. You've got a small speaker that's in the back that does an ample job of what it wants to do. In the back, you've got, of course, a place for your micro SD card, so you can expand the memory up to 128 gigabytes. You've also got a place where you can use a QI battery charger for inductive battery charging. You got your speaker there. You can also see that they put the gasket that they had in the Samsung Galaxy S4 Active into the S5. This gives it this IP7 rating of being both semi-waterproof and dust-proof. You certainly couldn't throw it in water for a long time. For the iPhone, you have your camera there on the back. You have a small microphone hole and your dual lamp flash, if you will. And that's pretty much it on the back of the iPhone. Very simple on their design. On the top of the S5, you've got an earphone jack, a microphone hole, and an IR blaster. On the 5S, you have your power button. Along the side of the S5, you've got a volume rocker and, of course, your mute switch and your buttons for volume up and down in the iPhone. On the bottom of both devices, on the iPhone, you've got your earphone jack, your speakers, your charge sync area. You've got a sealed gasketed charge sync area on the the S5, I should say. Power button on the S5 and the SIM tray on the iPhone. So, one thing that is interesting with the Samsung Galaxy S5 is they have a sealed gasket area, as I mentioned, and in it you can take and have your sync charge cable. Now this uses the new USB technology, so USB 3.0, so you can take and plug that in and away you go. It'll give you faster charging times and, of course, faster data speeds. Okay, so the Samsung is very feature-rich compared to the iPhone. It's amazing the advancements they've taken and put on their phones and all the different innovations and features. It's pretty crazy to try to list them off for the videos. Insane. You've got the OK Google Now thing where it will take and activate verbally Google search and open apps, things of that nature. You've got the multi-window you can see here, and you can basically have two windows open at the same time. You can resize them, use them in portrait and landscape. It's a great feature for people that know how to utilize it and want to multitask and do a lot of work with their phones. We've tested out the fingerprint technology on both the phones. Both phones do a great job of it, and both phones now have fingerprint protection for pulling out a standby, so that if people steal your phone, they're going to need your fingerprint to get into it. So that's very cool. One of the things that Samsung has brought, you can see here a list of some of the cool features. They have a feature called a toolbox, and toolbox is a little pop-up button icon, if you will. They can pop up. You can edit these apps and put them on whatever you want to have as kind of a quick toolbar where you can have whatever you need at a moment's notice, and it will sit atop most of the apps. And you can just have it there at your ready. So you can do a lot of work and function. You can see the notifications on both these. With the S5, you've got Smart Pause, of course, will pause videos. You've got Smart Stay, where you can look up and down and it will scroll. NFC technology, power saving, blocking mode, touch sensitivity adjustments on the screen, privacy mode for the device. You've got multi-window, of course, we mentioned. Power saving, Quick Connect, S Finder, just a boatload of features you can have. And of course, it's got the S Health with the step pedometer, and also, of course, in the back you have the ability to check your beats per minute with your heartbeat. Just amazing, all the different features they put in the on the Samsung Galaxy S5, and a real big difference there between the two. You don't see a lot of this stuff on the iPhone yet. We'll see what happens with the new iPhones when they come out. Here you can see the Geekbench 3 comparison between these two. Now, it seems everyone's cheating nowadays from what we're finding, so we're just going to present it. Since everyone's cheating, you might as well, see what the scores are anyway. And it gives you kind of a comparison. I mean, there is a certain amount of difference between these phones when it comes to processors and, of course, gigahertz and what they're operating, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a bearing to, obviously, which one has to be faster given the gigahertz of chips. You can see here the 1.3 gigahertz A7 versus the 2.46 gigahertz, of course, 4 cores against 2. It becomes obvious after a while that one phone is going to be fast than the other. Camera-wise, let's talk about the cameras. We're not going to get into the cameras too much. You have a 16 megapixel camera with the Samsung Galaxy S5, and with the iPhone you have an 8 megapixel camera with the S5. You can see some of the cool features that they have here. Now with the Samsung Galaxy, you can do up to 4K video, which just blows away the iPhone's technology. 4K video, which is great. Now, some people say, well, you may not be using that now, but you can take and use that in the future. You're going to have this phone for 2 years if you sign a 2-year contract, and in 2 years, 4K is going to be very popular. With the Samsung, you're looking at not only 16 megapixels on the back, it's 30 frames per second 4K video, and 2.1 megapixels out the front. On the iPhone, you're looking at 8 megapixels. Your 1080p is the best it's going to get, 30 frames per second at 1.2 megapixels out the front. With the Samsung, there's a lot of cool features they've taken and built into this that are pretty extraordinary and pretty visionary. They've got selective focus, of course, that you can take and do with a Qualcomm chip, where you can choose different points of focus, and basically the aperture in a photo. You've got dual screens on the front and everything else. And what's really neat too is in their modes, they've actually created an app section for modes that you can take and download in their app store, if you will. So I imagine this gives developers the ability to take and do stuff with it, etc., etc. Pretty cool. Now, one thing they've also done is they made an effects app store where you can actually download effects that I guess developers can take and make and everything else. And of course, these effects go to the screen. Pretty freaking amazing and well thought out. So you've got an effects store, you've got the mode store, and you can download these different ones and add to the camera. How brilliant is that? And like I say, just feature rich in everything that you have with the Samsung S5. And of course, it's twice a better camera when it comes to the megapixels if you just go off a megapixel count. With the iPhone is definitely got a great camera to it. We record actually most of our videos on the iPhone. Of course, the cases that are made for it for recording do very well, and that's one of the reasons we use them. You've got slow mode, video mode, photo mode, square mode, and pano mode that you can take and flip between. They've got a great swipe process. It's got several different kind of modes or filters, if you would, that you can go into, and you can adjust them to work with whatever you want to take and do. Now, with both of these cameras, I'm not really going to do a comparison of side-by-side photos. There really isn't a point to it, especially when there's such a broad difference of video size from going from 4K to 1080p, and also photo size. It just seems kind of redundant and silly to take and compare the two photos against each other. They just really don't compare. So we're going to skip through this process. All in all, both phones are great, well-built phones. You're definitely going to get your money's worth no matter which one of these you definitely buy. For me, the Samsung Galaxy S5 is definitely a much better phone. It's more feature-rich. Is it more complicated and less simple to use? Yes, it is, but definitely I certainly want the features. I definitely want 4K cameras and the highest pixel counts I can get on my mobile phones, especially when I'm paying the extraordinary amount I'm paying for them. I want what I want. And with the advent of more and more video going from the internet and people using it on their mobile devices, this is why screens keep expanding. So for me, the Samsung Galaxy S5 is a much better phone, and that's my personal opinion. But you can pick which one works best for you, and you can compare the features side by side and definitely make the decision. Both these phones are on the AT&T network. Thanks for AT&T for sharing the Samsung Galaxy S5 with us so that we can take and bring these videos to you. Give us a like, subscribe to us so you can get more of the versus comparisons we're going to be doing with the S5, and also go to at&t.com. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Be sure to check in the chrisvossshow.com often for all the latest and greatest videos and mobile devices.